We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Free Association Radio on Wednesday. This is Navigating the Astrological Matrix, and I am Robert Phoenix, your host. And we're going to have a great show today. We have a great lineup planned, and that lineup is you, because that's what this show is about. It's about you calling in, me looking at your chart, me breaking things down if that's what you want, and then answering any questions to the best of my ability about astrology. And we're about to get into Mercury Retrograde, so we'll talk a little bit about that today. We'll look at some dates around that, some strategies around that. Mercury Retrograde is happening during the very intense period of Scorpio that is dancing around, swimming around, flying around, whatever elemental medium you're most comfortable with in terms of an allegorical or metaphorical relationship to Scorpio. These next 2 months are going to be very intense, very powerful, and very life-changing for many people. We often use the term transformation because it's hip and vogue, and I use it a lot, and it's a powerful word. So, but life-changing is what we're looking at, staring down and peeling back the layers with, because now is a time where it's going to be pretty clear who's who and what's what over the course of the next couple of months, with Saturn conjuncting the true node in Scorpio. People, intentions, emotions, relationships. We've got Venus in Scorpio. All these things are being revealed. And it is, in some ways, a time of a mini reckoning. And we'll also get into Comet Ison just a little bit. We're going to have a show later on devoted solely to Comet Ison. Laird Scranton, who was praised highly by John Anthony West. And by the way, if you have not listened to the John Anthony West interview from last week, I highly recommend it. It's one of the best interviews I think we've had on the show. John, I use the term playfully because of the movie title and all the symbolism inherent in it, but John is a national treasure. And at 82 years old, it doesn't get much better in terms of wisdom, knowledge, and...
we don't want to play to an empty room, so to continue, please open your player, click the continue button, and you'll get right back to your favorite station. Thank you so much.
All right. So this is just a bit of a snafu here. I've had a hell of a time sleeping, by the way. I have had very, very challenging times. I can't sleep anymore. I mean, I essentially stay up till about 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Last night it was 5 because I can't sleep. And I don't know quite what to do, but it is a troubling. And what happens is that when you get into the sleep pattern where you're staying up late and getting up late, it's It's not helpful. It's not helpful at all. So Mercury is in Scorpio at 4 degrees, and it goes retrograde next week. Let's find out when the exact date is, just so you people have a handle on this. It is going to be Monday. Oh boy. Hold on. Is that right? Mercury retrograde. No, let me go back in time here. Mercury goes retrograde, yes, on Monday. So it's no, I take that back. Hold on. Sorry. It's the 21st. It is the 21st. So we have basically 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks before Mercury goes retrograde. So that's not too bad. You've got 2 weeks of solid, steady planning and getting things done. Now, Mercury in Scorpio is very powerful. Mercury in Scorpio is extremely psychic, and in fact, I think it might be exalted in Scorpio. So it's very, very powerful, very penetrating, and it allows you to use this energy to get to the heart of the matter. Even though you may not have Mercury in Scorpio in your chart, when we go through these transits, it's like stopping at a restaurant or a service station or a fast food place along the interstate. You get to tap into it, right? That's what happens when there are transits in the air. And of course, they impact us on a personal level with angles. And if we have a planet that is in the same sign as a transit, then we have conjunctions. So, but everybody gets to feel it. So the mood in the air right now is penetrating. It's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. It's going, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2 layers deep, at least 2 layers deep. If you're really persistent and really penetrating, you can go much deeper. But this is where we are now, and this is important because we're seeing a massive charade taking place in Washington with the shutdown, and I may get into that a little bit because I'm writing about it and I'm looking at it as it relates to Obamacare and the architects behind Obamacare. I'm actually working on a fairly large piece on that, how it relates to us astrologically. So we've got Mercury in Scorpio. Venus is going to be moving into Sagittarius, and that's going to be a bit of a relief because Venus in Scorpio has been very intense for a lot of people. There's been a lot of shadow play with Venus in Scorpio, people dealing with insecurity in relationship, jealousy, obsession, things like that. A lot of that passed about a week ago. Actually, it would have been on the 22nd when Saturn and Venus were more or less conjunct. It was about a 3-degree orb. So that's passed, and people have been working through their own personal demons, their own personal addictions, especially as it relates to relationship. Venus in Sagittarius is much easier in terms of what I would call an open architecture around relationship. Now, it doesn't mean that there isn't some desire to find authenticity and truth inside relationship, because that's what Sagittarius stands for, is authenticity, truth, being your own spiritual authority. And when it comes to bringing that into Venus or relationships, it's about two people standing together and understanding who they are as autonomous beings and operating from authentic places. If you look at astrology, you can see this beautiful arc and this beautiful curve that's built in to the wheel itself. And we start with Libra, and I got into Libra last week. And if you are a Libra and you found my description of Libra to be harsh or to be off, I apologize. Wasn't my intention, but I was really trying to look at Libra from a more detached perspective. There are beautiful things about Libra. Libras are poetic. Libras are musical. They can be very charming. They can be diplomatic, very graceful. So I didn't want it to sound like there were negative attributes associated with Libra. I have 3 planets in Libra. I have Moon in Libra. I have Mercury in Libra. I have Venus in Libra, and they're all conjunct. You can't find a more Libran person in the world in some ways than me. I really am Libra, and with the exception of my 29-degree Virgo sun, which desperately wants to be Libra, but it can't. It's still in the astro-geographical confines of Virgo. So, but I have a lot of my chart that is associated with Libra. I love Libra, don't get me wrong. However, I also have to point out my own insights and my own understanding and analysis about how the progressions of signs work. And that's what I was trying to do last week. So if we look at Libra, what do we have? We have the call to be in relationship. That's what we have, the call. We have the call to be in relationship, the call to be met, to be seen, to be reflected. It is the sign where our horizontal relationship with this plane of existence really comes to the fore, because if you look at the plane, right, it is the horizontal plane of the chart. And on the other side of the horizontal plane is Aries. That's where we meet ourselves within ourselves. It is the ultimate point of self-expression. But Libra is where we meet ourselves in the other. It's where we really come into the horizontal plane as it relates to the relationship with another being. And that's when we get to see the reflections, both good and bad, as a result of that. So if we look at the arc again, this is just taking up the thread from last week, we see that we come together, we couple, we associate, we relate, we reflect, all very Libran attributes. And we maybe even fall in love. Libra is the one sign that falls in love probably easier than almost any sign. Libras are hopeless romantics in that regard. Okay? So then if we follow that arc, and then we get into Scorpio, and we get into kind of the subterranean underpinnings of why we fall in love and who we fall in love with, and whether it's good for us or good for them, and all that stuff. It gets mixed up, it gets mashed around, and then what happens is that hopefully we find some kind of gnosis, some kind of revelation that we emerge from the other side whole, and that is Sagittarius. And as a couple, what would happen is that you would go into that transpersonal and interpersonal cauldron, which is Scorpio, and you come out on the other side, and then you restate with one another quite clearly, well, this is who I am, and this is who I am, and this is what my truth is, and this is what my truth is. And then hopefully, if you've done the work and you have two beings that have a spiritual purpose together, that would be Venus and Sagittarius. And then they can build upon sort of the philosophical roots and foundation of their relationship. That's when two people theoretically would discover the presence or the knowledge or the understanding of what we would call God, and then they bring that in as a third part of their relationship. It creates creates the Trinity. And then if we continue the arc, then we have people beginning to set up shop, two people beginning to set up shop with Capricorn, and that's all about a home and a family and planning for the future and life insurance and bank accounts and all that stuff. So there is a perfect arc with the wheel, and that happens in relationship, but it also happens within the individual arc of the chart as well. So Venus and Sagittarius, we're coming into that, and we're going to be there on the 8th, okay? And when that occurs, there will be some kind of resolution to this Venusian scorpionic energy that we've been through, and people can then stand in their own personal and spiritual authority and together plot out a course or choose to go in different directions and from a place of wholeness. There could be a lot of also emotional pioneering and adventurism with Venus and Sagittarius as well. It's a much more kind of open architecture. People who have Venus and Sagittarius in their chart have a very difficult time at times with commitment. That doesn't mean that they can't have a commitment or they can't be in a committed relationship, but the types of relationships that they require are people that are just as adventurous and open as they are. And when they have those relationships, people who have Venus and Sagittarius can really prosper. They need space. Sagittarians in general need some space. They need room to roam. They're horses, right? And what's the worst thing that can happen to a horse? You put him in a pen, or you put a bit around him and you hook him up to a circus ride, and kids can sit on their backs and ride around in circles for hours. I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen to a horse, really, in some ways. Unless, of course, the horse is old and doesn't really have much desire to go run around and make hay while the sun shines. So this is where we're headed. Mercury in Scorpio gives us intense, penetrating insight into our own process and into the processes of the world around us. So we're going through this shutdown right now, And trust me, people are trying to find answers. They're trying to find who the culprits are and what the cause of this is all about. And these surface and topical answers and solutions, not even solutions, but answers and narratives just are not going to be satisfying for people because people have had enough. We've reached a point of oversaturation. People are burnt out on Obama. People are burnt out on going to war. People are burnt out on the economy fluctuating, going up and down. They're just burnt out. People are burnt out on the Kardashians. People are burnt out on American Idol. It's over. It's over. That kind of bread and circus, is coming to an end. Trust me on this. I know it. It had a great run, and I'm not saying great because it's good. It had a great run for people that are invested in that kind of distraction. But it's over. And people have had enough. And people are going to start to go inside, and they're going to start to look for the reasons why things are the way they are. And they're going to look at this during this cycle of Mercury and Scorpio. Everything, I read something that really just blew my mind. And it has to do with time. And we used to, in fact, I think Jay Widener sent me this. It was NASA's plan for future war. It's a fascinating document. It's a PDF. You can find it on the internet. And one of the things that they talk about the technological age, and they talk about the age that's coming, which is the age of bots, robots, drones. I mean, we're talking Skynet. This is Terminator stuff, and this is the world that NASA and science is evolving towards. We are rushing headlong into the singularity, and that is a wholly different conversation. But what was interesting about this document, which I highly recommend people find and read, is that they talk about time scale. And they talk about how change used to take place in decades or years, but they have shrunken that time scale change into months now. And so the whole concept of time and the whole concept of evolution and technological revolution through time has been completely shattered. And we live with this notion that time is still linear. We have these Gregorian markers throughout our life and our days, right? We have Christmas, we have Thanksgiving, we have Easter, we have these holidays. If our kids aren't in year-round school, they're out for the summer. So we have these markers that suggest that time is linear, that it takes us back to another period of agrarian or even early industrial development. But those things are merely markers. Beneath the surface, time is accelerating at a rate that none of us can really understand or conceive of. Now, it may feel like there's less time, which is ironic because with technology there was supposed to be more time, but there's not. But so it may feel like there's less time in your life, and that might be partly true because what we're seeing here is a compression and a concrescence of time and event. And how this relates to astrology is that when we go into cycles, when we go into a Mercury and Scorpio, because time is compressing, because events are compressing, that the aspects themselves take on more intensity. They're much more intense than they were before. We're not playing. We're playing for keeps now. I was just Gloria Savage, who's been on this show, she sent me a link to what's happening in California, and Jerry Brown, the fascistic Jerry Brown, California uber alles, Mr. Aries. I can't stand Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown has made a mandate in the state of California that they will work closely with the government in terms of enforcing the NDAA. Thank God I'm in Texas, and you may think that Rick Perry is a regressive, but Texas has actually pushed back the most out of almost any state on the NDAA. And when this happens, when Jerry Brown does something like this, it shows that the stakes have been raised, that we are dealing with a matrix-based universe that is self-assembling around us at a rate that we cannot comprehend. so that when these aspects kick in, like Mercury and Scorpio, we want to know why. This desire to interpenetrate and get to the core of things, to find out who's doing what and why, become vitally important. And it could be in any aspect or any station of our lives. It could be relationship. It could be our own personal process. It could be the world around us, banking, schools, politics, whatever that is. So we're in Mercury and Scorpio now, and I would suggest, if you want to catch the wave, to get on it for the next 3 weeks, because after that, it goes retrograde. Now, there's actually Mercury and Scorpio. I think there's a redeeming factor in Mercury and Scorpio retrograde, because it allows us to go back in time to see what's happened, to see what occurred, to see how things got to the way they are. It's a very important aspect, especially now when we have this quote-unquote government shutdown, which is absolutely ridiculous and dangerous, by the way. It's dangerous. I mean, we live in a country. I want you to think about this just for a moment. We live in a country that at one point in time was the apex of civilization on this planet. Okay? I'm not talking about culture, because the culture of this country has always been somewhat in question and in doubt. But in terms of civilization, the United States was the apex. It was the apex in industry. It was the apex in science. It was the apex even in governance. That we actually had a democracy, that votes counted, that you could talk and you could say what you wanted without any fear of reprisal or recrimination. You can't do that now. You can't do that. And the noose is only going to get tighter when it comes to those kinds of freedoms and liberties that for many years we've simply taken for granted. But the United States was the apex for all of these things. We weren't a country that openly and aggressively went out and started war and engaged in a global hegemony. Now, we may have done it covertly. I won't disagree with that. That's been happening since really the late 1950s. We've been engaged in lots of covert actions, Cuba, Angola, Indonesia, just to name a few places. But since 9/11, we have been openly engaged in naked aggression all across the planet. It really marked the downfall of our society and culture in many ways. So when Mercury goes retrograde in Scorpio, there are going to be a number of people looking back to see how things got this way. Why are we living the way we do? It's going to be a very powerful time, and it's going to be very interesting to see what people come up with in terms of their answers or scenarios. And I'm going to tell you straight out of the gate that likely there will be an attack on paranoid conspiracy thinkers. I'm going to go on the record within the next month that is going to be a very public topic. Why? Because the natives are restless. They're looking for answers. They're looking for truth. Venus in Sagittarius is all about the truth. Mercury in Scorpio is interpenetrating into the heart of the matter. We've got Sun in Libra, which is about achieving balance and finding some modicum of fairness, diplomacy, and equality in our lives, in our personal lives and the lives around us. Saturn in Scorpio, it forces us to look at our institutions, both the financial and psychological health and well-being of all our institutions. These are powerful times we're in, and it's a funnel, and that funnel is headed towards November. And we're going to get into November maybe a little bit later in the show if we have the time. I'm going to do some readings, but November is absolutely and utterly profound and important as it relates to what's taking place right now. And there are a number of aspects in November, including Mercury retrograde, that are markers, that are signs that something very, very big is in the air. Okay, so let's take some calls here. Let's go to 510 And see, I think this might be Camille, but let's find out. Hello there.
Hi. You
Hey,
are
Camille.
correct. It
Hey,
is me, yes. So, I love everything that you have been speaking about thus far.
Well, that's good. At least one person's happy.
Yeah, very much so. So, and as I've been listening to you, I've been frantically, Bella's going to be 22 months old, so she's pulling and grabbing, and I'm frantically trying to save all the old family photos and get things out of the way so that she won't do anything to them. But my question is about, I'd like you to look into my chart again,
Okay.
and let's figure out something like, my Libra midheaven, and again, a little bit in terms of career and money development.
Well, I know that you've been talking about coaching, and you have all those really powerful aspects in your chart that would definitely lend itself to both coaching and self-hypnosis and regression and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Where are you with some of those things?
Okay, I'm telling you this. In the past weeks, I'm putting it out there, and I'm attracting people who are interested, and I want to know more about hypnosis. I said, oh, yes, all right. And then something happens. They can't quite commit to they can't make an investment of themselves.
Right.
So I don't push the issue. I just said, okay, I'll attract something or someone better. And I've also attracted people who have been interested in me doing editing, anything in terms of writing, which is also something that I have a degree in creative writing. So, but again,
really?
I have a degree in creative writing. And I attracted someone who wanted me to be like a tutor for him in his, community college creative writing course. But again, he made the suggestion and did not put anything underneath it. I made myself available, but it just it didn't manifest.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny because just before you were talking about creative writing and editing and things like that, I was just thinking, how could you do something different in your life and have it pay off for you? And I was just thinking about your experience with with your daughter and how fascinating that is. And I was and the phrase that came to me was the accidental mother.
Yes.
And I think that you have a fascinating story. And have you ever thought about doing a blog around something like that?
Yeah, I'm doing a blog right now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I would for me personally, I would focus on you and your story about your birth and everything after, and the challenges and the spirit and the fortitude that you're displaying to raise your baby. So because I think it's inspiring, number one, and number two, I get a sense that people would, and not that you're looking for charity, but I think that if people understood who you are and what your story is, and you were giving them interesting content, that they would contribute and donate to your ongoing project as the accidental mother. That's my sense.
Oh, okay. That's an idea. Okay.
So that would be the narrative, I would look at. I mean, because your story is fascinating. If people don't know about you, let me just give them the encapsulation. You went for a bike ride one day, and you came home and took a bath, and essentially went into labor, and you didn't even know you were pregnant. And within hours, all of a sudden, you have a baby in your life. I mean, it's one of the it's one of the most mind-blowing stories I've come across, and it happens. I mean, this is not necessarily a common thing, but it does happen. And I think it's uncommon enough that people would be very interested, and not like it would be a modern day version of Sex in the City or contemporary version, something like that. But it certainly has elements of you being a single woman with this completely, shocking and life-changing event that really just falls into your lap, and then having to deal with that almost overnight. I mean, I think people would be interested in that. And your intelligence, and you have enough, I think, ability to express yourself. And you've got this wonderful, beautiful baby and pictures that are just absolutely charming, that would lend itself to content that I think people would be inspired by your journey. But give me your birth date again. I know you're born in July, but when is it?
Yeah, July the 13th, 1976, in Los Angeles at 6:18 p.m.
Okay.
And I always get tripped up because I have a really good working knowledge of astrology, but I can see in my own chart where hypnosis and coaching and everything, and even the tarot, but I get tripped up on my Libra midheaven and what that entails. I mean, I know that's Venus, so Venus, 7th house. Like, what does all that mean?
Well, you've got Pluto right there at your midheaven as well, and it's in the 9th house. And one of the definitions or meanings of the 9th house is publishing. Sagittarius.
Okay.
Publishing. Okay. So you have Pluto trining your Venus and Pluto trining your Saturn, which is very powerful in terms of working with people in relationship. So one of the things that would be important for you, even, with a very strong 7th house and with a Libra midheaven, is that it would be easier and I think more rewarding, especially on a financial tip, if you can find somebody to work with you. And that can take on any number of manifestations. It could be, let's say you write, there's your baby saying yes.
Yeah.
So maybe she is your partnership, right, at this point in time.
Okay.
She is your spiritual relationship that you would be working off of and with and through, right? And that, I think, is completely valid, because your sun is in Cancer, which is the mother, and it's also in the 7th house. Pluto, also in the 9th house, gives the individual a profound ability to see into social change, the dominant paradigm, what's right, what's wrong, getting to the bottom of it. And the closer it gets to the midheaven, and you've got a nice 5-degree orb, the more that Pluto plays a role in your life and in the life of, sort of the dominant paradigm and people around you. Now, you've got a major T-square going on, right? You know that. Aries, Uranus is opposing your Pluto, and Pluto in Capricorn is squaring your Pluto. Where is Uranus?
Is that the transit?
That's right now, absolutely. And it peaks for you in November. You've got Uranus in the 3rd house. That is communication. That is writing. That is research. In Aries, it is about you taking the reins. Taking hold of that, right? And it's opposed to Pluto and Libra. So what is the 3rd house? It's writing. What is the 9th house? It's publishing. Uranus and Pluto want action. They want to hook up. They want to shoot that energy, and again, you have dealt with a Uranus and Aries kind of moment in your life. 1 minute you're a single woman and going on a bike ride and taking a bath, and a couple hours later you're a different person completely. And just out of that is a Uranus and Aries manifestation. Like your identity, Aries, was changed in the span of 24 hours in a way that most people can't even comprehend. That's Uranus in the 3rd house. That is your story. And it's opposed to Pluto. It wants to get that story up to the 9th house where people can read about it, I think, and have it published. Now, Pluto the 1st, right, in Capricorn, is about personal power, number 1. It's the 1st house. Number 2, also about working with people in positions of power, finding people that can help you, finding people that will want to assist you. And you've got to link all three of these up, because that's what's going to happen during this T-square November. And I don't necessarily think it's bad, okay? I don't think it's a bad aspect. Some people would say, wow, that's really powerful. You've got, this intense T-square happening in your first house. It can be, dramatic or drastic. I don't really get that. What I get for you is a fortitude and a desire to make your will manifest, which is Pluto and Capricorn in the first house. It's owning your experience. It's being somewhat like the CEO of your life and saying, this is what I'm going to do. This is how it's going to get done. And when you do that, people respond. People will, they will reflect back to you the commitment to that T-square and whatever manifests as a result of that. So if you make a commitment that you want to write, or you want to edit, or you want your own personal story to evolve over time through a blog, which you could then turn into a book or whatever that thing is, if you commit to that, then I think that the forces of nature, the universe, God, will work with you and through you. And that T-square could act as a catalytic brand in some ways, a signature in time that you can make that decision, and you can plant your flag, so to speak, and make this very real in your life. So I guess what I'm saying is I think you have a capacity and an opportunity to chronicle, express, and narrate your experience, change people's lives, and also have it be something that can support you. So whether it's editing or whether it's getting into your own creative abilities in writing and your own personal transformation around your lovely little girl, that's where I think the strength of your chart lies. And I think that really that's where it's headed.
Interesting. Thank you, because I started writing when I was 9, just because I realized anytime we needed to do vocabulary, spelling, you had to write a story, it was fun for me. And growing up, being raised by my grandmother, who was born in the 20s in Texas, you don't read poetry or fiction. You don't care about those things.
Right.
So she kind of, because my parents had died, there was a wrongful death settlement. There was funds for me to go to university. I chose to go to USC in LA, private university, and take creative writing as my major. And I had a great time in my courses. But once I finished, my grandmother was like, well, you're done. You're done with school. You're done with traveling. You wasted the time. You wasted the resources. This is not going to earn you anything, nothing. And then about as soon as I finished school and she made all those comments, she got sick. And I kind of nursed her elder care for a year. And next thing I know, I tried to do acting. It didn't work out. And I had resources to fall back on from, I was getting money from wrongful death settlements. I had inherited a property. I really didn't have to just go out there and do something or be anything. So I took all this time to heal. And I didn't really I've always kept a journal. I've always written something, but it just was never the right time to get back out there and write and really get into it. And I really hadn't lived. So I finally allowed myself to live and heal. And now, if it's all coming together, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I would definitely, again, Mercury, we're coming into Mercury in Scorpio retrograde, so that would be a really good time for you to go back and rediscover, those kinds of gifts and talents that you have and are part of your own personal expression. One last thing before we sign off here.
Okay.
Your ascendant is at 26 degrees Sagittarius, and it is conjunct the galactic center. So part of what you also have to do is you have to tune into the galactic center and what that means to you, and what your in some ways your purpose isn't your own. In some ways your life purpose and your own personal evolution through self has to do with the galactic center. And it doesn't have to do with parenthood, but not parenthood in your sense of the word, because obviously you are dealing with that, but your own personal parenthood and your relationship with your parents. In many ways, you're a child of the universe, and not in some ways of a biological union and normal kind of domestic relationships and situations. So I would say, as part of all of this, meditate on the galactic center. What does that mean to you? How does that feel? Try to make contact with it as a navigational force in your life. Because if you do, and you can tap into that, you'll know exactly what to do. And what is your ascendant? It's Sagittarius. What does Sagittarius specialize in? It specializes in publishing. That's what it specializes in.
Oh, gosh.
Okay?
That's interesting.
So hang in there. Continue to do what you do, and try to look to the personal elements of your life to be the stuff of transformation, both on a personal level and even on a professional level, because I think that's where it's at for you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Camille.
Thank you very much.
And
we'll
will. Time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's take another call. Hello there.
Hello. Sorry I had you muted, or I was muted. Are you there?
I am here.
You're there. Hey, it's Melissa. I haven't called you forever. I live in Maine, and my birthday is 4666.
4666. And what is your name?
Melissa. Melissa.
Okay, let me find a chart here that I can override. Hold on a second.
Okay.
All right. All right, so 4, you're an Aries. 4, and then 6. Hold on. 4, 6, 6. Let's do this. April 6, 1966. And what time were you born?
11:55 p.m. And that's a whole weird story, but I'm not going to get into that.
Okay.
My original birth certificate said that, and I had a new one done. And it says time of birth unknown. And my original birth certificate, they typed in a 7 and crossed it out and wrote 6. Swear to God.
That's interesting. Okay.
Isn't that weird?
It is weird. And where was that?
North Conway, New Hampshire.
And it's Melissa, right?
Yeah, Melissa, Melissa.
Okay. All right, let's see what we got here.
I'm in the process of home looking to buy a new house, and I just want to make sure this is the right time. I'm sort of going back and forth.
Yeah. So your 4th house is Aries, and you have Mars in Aries at 21 degrees. You have your Sun at 16 degrees. I'm just trying to look at timing-wise. One of the things that you're going to run into over the course of the next couple of weeks is that you're going to have a Sun opposition and a Sun-Mars opposition. And that can be difficult, especially if you're dealing with 4th house issues like moving.
Okay.
Because the Sun will be moving through your 10th house, which is career. And there could be time conflicts, scheduling conflicts, logistical conflicts. It's not the most ideal time. Now,
okay.
one could make a case for the opposition being a catalyst for you to think about moving. Would this be a rental situation, or are you thinking about selling your house?
No, I'm renting now and then going into something that my husband and I own. And it's interesting because I've had the feeling, why don't I just stay here for the winter?
Mm-hmm.
But then something, the markets are really good. Things are pretty affordable.
Okay. So how far away would you be moving in town?
Originally, yes, but they didn't accept the offer for that house. So I'm thinking of a different area.
Okay. All right. If you were going to, if you really felt like you wanted to make a move, I would say that you'd want to take advantage of this Venus in Sagittarius transit. But the problem is that in 3 weeks we're moving into Mercury Retrograde. So let's say you decided that you wanted to move and you started off in that process and you found a house and you put a bid on it. You would have to do all of that within really the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I don't know if that would give you enough time for that process, because even if you found a place, say 10 days from now, you would have to jump through a bunch of hoops, and then for escrow, it wouldn't be too bad if you made an offer and it was accepted before escrow, but the escrow period would be happening in Mercury Retrograde, which would mean there would be discovery with the place that you're thinking about buying. And I personally would wait until Mercury got out of its retrograde station, and that would be after November. That would be like around, it would be it would be the last week of November, 22nd of November, right around then.
Okay.
But then you're dealing also with Mercury coming up on your Neptune, and that would be a little fuzzy. I don't know. One of the things that happens during the wintertime that I know about the real estate market is that people want to move inventory during that time. So most people want to move in the spring.
Yeah.
Or they want to move in the summer because a lot of times kids will be out of school during the summer.
Different
and
things,
start fresh. Winter, there's less inventory on the market, which means that there's, in some ways, kind of an artificially created demand. But at the same time, if you're dealing with properties that have been there for a while, they can certainly be much more in your favor. I would wait until the sun gets within about 5 degrees of your ascendant, which is 23 degrees Sagittarius, because then you're dealing with a sun-sun trine. Okay. And the sun-sun trine is good for you because your sun is conjunct your IC. That, if you're going to move and you want to move during the winter, that for me would be the time, and I'll give you the date for that, actually. Okay. That would be right around the second week of December. Okay. So if you want, here's what I would do. I would start to look. I would start to look on December 1st. Okay. Mercury is direct by then, and then the sun is moving towards your ascendant. And if you can catch that sweet spot where the sun is trining the sun, your natal sun is right at the cusp of your IC. That would give you the most. That would give you the most momentum and energy to accomplish something like that.
Okay.
One of the things it's weird, okay? It's really weird. You have Mars in the 4th house, and Mars represents the military.
Yeah.
and believe it or not, you may want to look close to a military base. And I know
you're kidding me, Robert, because I live right near one now.
Yeah. So you would want to look close to a military base to find a place to live. That's part of Mars. You would live near something like that.
Yeah,
so,
I live right next to the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard.
The place that you would find is not far from that goal, okay?
Okay, so this area is probably a good area to stay in, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I love
Portsmouth, by the way. Say that again?
I love Portsmouth.
Portsmouth is really cool. I'm like right over the bridge from it, and real estate has been, over the past few years, pretty whacked out, pretty expensive, but it's come down, you know.
I used to go to Portsmouth when I was married. My ex-family lived in New Hampshire, so I used to go to Portsmouth.
Right. I remember you saying they lived in Lee.
And I think they moved out of that place, but yeah, man, I mean,
it would be really weird because my husband was your brother-in-law a builder?
No, he actually he is actually a steel magnate.
So wrong people, because I knew somebody that had a sister that was from California that lived in Lee, and I thought, wow, wouldn't that be weird?
No, they're from that area, but no, his big thing now is he owns about half a dozen Planet Fitnesses. He's becoming a Planet Fitness.
Oh, you're kidding? Okay.
So anyway,
gotcha.
Bringing this back to you, so it's near where you're living. That's where you should. All right.
Okay, so I followed in the beginning. That felt really right, and then I sort of fought against it. And
yeah, it's in your chart.
Okay, no wonder. Huh?
Yeah.
War,
exactly.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
It is crazy stuff. Well, thank you for this.
Hey,
it's really helpful. Thank you.
If you find a place, call back and tell us how that went, okay?
I will. Okay,
right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. The wonders and joys of astrology. Mars. Mars never lies, does it? It never lies. It will always show its colors because Mars is so direct in that way. Neptune, a little more difficult to figure out. But Mars, you can always count on Mars. Okay, I'm going to play a little bit of music, and when we come out of the break here, I'll do some more readings. If you want to get in, 347-308-8995, 347-308-8995. And what do I want to play here? Let's see. How about a little magma? Speaking of Mars, Mercury and Scorpio. Mars, Scorpio. It's not Scorpio now, but you know what I'm saying. Magma. Here's magma. I'll be back in 3 minutes and 50 seconds. That was a track called Magma. It ends abruptly, doesn't it? You're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'm your host. We've got about 31 minutes left on the clock for today's show. I started late today because I got a late start today, and I had to catch up on some personal matters very quickly before the allotted or the time of the show. Friday, we're going to have an Austin original, Perry Logan. If you haven't discovered Perry Logan, I suggest you do. He is one of a kind. He lives here in Austin, and he makes these absolutely insane videos. And he puts them on public access TV here, which is how I discovered him. And then they're all over YouTube. Now, I don't agree with everything Perry says politically, but he is astute enough and interesting enough and radical enough that I want to have him on my show. I don't have to agree with everybody. We don't have to see eye to eye on everything. That's part of life, right? If everybody agreed on everything, then it would be pretty fucking boring. Pardon my language, but it would be. I think I'm also going to try to get Sarah Nash on here because it is the first Friday, and we do have that rhythm and pattern with Sarah, bringing her on the first Friday. We could talk about Burning Man and her experience of Burning Man. So that's this Friday. We've got on the 11th. Is it the 11th? It's the 18th, I believe. Michael Tellinger is going to be on the show. And Michael, we talked about Michael briefly on Friday with John Anthony West, and John is not a fan of Michael's research because Michael is a follower of Sitchin, but we're not going to be talking about the South African megaliths and the Sitchin research and the Sitchin lineage with Michael. We're going to be talking about Ubuntu, which is Michael's ideas for a new social economy. And I think I'm going to try to have Richard Grossinger on as well on that show. I think he would be a great guest. So that's Michael Tellinger and Richard Grossinger. I'm also looking to have Susan Dahim on the show here. She is a friend, and she's got a show coming up in San Francisco on the 22nd of October. And Susan is one of the world's great vocalists. And if you have not discovered her music, I suggest that you seek her out and find her. She's done a lot of work with her partner, Richard Horowitz. She's originally from Iran, and she was a child star in Iran during the time of the Shah. And she went to Paris to study at the Paris Academy of Arts, where she learned all kinds of interesting forms of artistic expression from people like Pierre Boulez in music and Maurice Béjart in dance. She had one of the best artistic educations anybody could get, and she's applied that as a vocalist and as a performer. One of her most recent expressions of her recording is on the soundtrack for Argo, which was nominated for an Academy Award. It did not win. I think it won the Golden Globe. But she does the vocalizations on Argo. So Susan is going to be a guest here in the coming weeks. She's absolutely fascinating. We'll play some of her music, and I think you'll absolutely love her. And Laird Scranton, who John Anthony West talked about last week, Laird's going to be on the show. He's agreed to be on the show. We're going to be doing an interview with him and talking about his latest book on Velikovsky. And Immanuel Velikovsky is the mind-blowing archaeologist, anthropologist, and outside researcher. He really kind of created the mold for people like John Anthony West and others to follow. So we're going to talk about his new book on Velikovsky. and some of his work on the Dogon. So Laird Scranton coming up as well. Lots of great guests on Free Association Radio. I think I might be doing a fundraiser also sometime in October to try to raise some funds here, and that might even include a Kickstarter so that we can continue to bring you high-quality programming and content and maybe even expand into 5 days a week. Wouldn't that be fun, 5 days a week with this show and guests? I can barely handle 3, but 5 could be really cool. All right, let's take another call. Let's talk to our friend in California, Gussie, find out what's happening with her and her move. Here we go.
Did you say I'm in California?
Are you in California?
God, no. I'm in about as opposite a state as you could get from California.
Oh, good, excellent. All right,
which is Arizona.
You're in Arizona. I was under the impression that you were in California. My bad. How's it going?
That's okay. You could not pay me to live in that state. So, but I'm a native of that state, so I can say that with all authority.
Yeah, you and I are in the same type of wagon on that one. Can you turn your audio down a little bit? I'm having an echo with you.
Is that a little bit better?
Let me see. Yes.
Okay.
A little bit.
Maybe I was talking too close. I'm actually calling you from my iPad.
Okay. So you and I are in the same covered wagon on that. You know, we're headed in opposite direction. It was the westward expansion at one point. Now it's the westward. I don't know, compression in some ways.
Yeah.
As much as I loved living in California for many years, I have no desire to go back.
Yeah, I left there in the early 1990, 91, something like that, and I haven't looked back with anything other than disdain for what has happened to that state.
Yeah.
And relief that I no longer have to put up with the crap. And I was there recently visiting, and because I still have friends and family, that's the only reason I have any connection to California. Otherwise, it would cease to exist in my consciousness. and I'll tell you, I could not get out of that place fast enough. What a horrible place it has become. Oh, just horrible. The traffic alone is reason to just...
was paradise at one point.
It was, yeah.
And you know, it's really become ground zero for the Agenda 2021ification of the country. That's number one. And number two, the school systems in California have just really gone downhill. And there's been this major dumbing down in terms of education in California.
Yep.
And it is the most uncomfortably politically correct state, maybe outside of Connecticut and Massachusetts, and New York, and any other state. And Jerry Brown is a fascist. And he keeps being passed around and elected and reelected. He ruined Oakland.
Yep.
And then he decided to take his ruination to the state capitol once again. And like as I mentioned earlier in the show, a friend of the show, Gloria Savage, who is also a very profound and enlightening astrologer and healer in her own right, she sent me a link to Jerry Brown essentially stating that the state of California is going to work hand in glove with the United States to enforce the NDAA. So they want to be able to, rendict people in California as easily and as smoothly as possible. Jerry Brown is an Aries. So
right.
So it would make a lot of sense that he would have this kind of Aryan, martial, Uranian, Aryan, vibe and iron fist in many ways. He's kind of the worst representation of being a progressive and a liberal. On the one hand, he looks like he's a really good guy and he's doing things for social change. And on the other hand, he's forwarding fascism, right and left, and cronyism with all of his buddies and his political pals. A long time ago, I read a book by Ruth Montgomery. Are you familiar with her?
Yes.
Okay, Ruth Montgomery had this, I'll never forget this. She was doing this automatic writing, and the automatic writing came through, and it said that the governor of California was not from this planet, and they were referring to Jerry Brown. And
Moonbeam Brown.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and I don't necessarily think that it was a compliment, right? It wasn't that warm and fuzzy, goofy moonbeam thing. That this guy was really an alien, and I would say that piece of information has played out accordingly, because he just makes these decisions that, in my estimation, are anything but humane. So that's my 10 cents on Jerry Brown in California. What's going on in your life?
Well, here's what's going on. I know we talked recently, but we got that Mercury Retrograde coming up. I need to make a move before that Mercury Retrograde really hits. I'd like to get this move. Actually, I feel very strongly that needs to be accomplished about by the middle of October 15th or so. Yep. It's a relocation. Well, it's still within Arizona. It's a relocation as well as so I need to relocate to a new town, find a new place to live, and secure employment. Securing employment being the priority out of those, because I'm not going to make a move without that. Sure. And it's just looking so not promising right now.
Can I ask where you are in Arizona?
Right now I'm in a little town of about 30,000 people called Kingman, which is not a bad little town. I'd like to move about 2.5 hours to the southeast, to another town that is more to my liking, better opportunities, and so on. But I'm not having. In fact, I'm at that town right now, my desired destination. Here, looking for work, and it's not looking very rosy. But the need to move is really pressing on me.
Sure.
I mean, I have to move. I mean, it's not. I've been told you have to move.
One of the things that came to me when you were talking about moving was the phrase "higher ground."
Yeah.
That you need to move to a more elevated area.
Yeah, that's actually true, and that's funny that you mentioned that, because the place where I'm leaving, I'm hoping to leave, is a fairly low level. But the town, my desired destination, is about 5,000 feet, which for me is a really magic number. It's the sweet spot for my blood and my lungs. Everything works for me at 5,000 feet on up.
Yeah, I got high ground. Have you thought about Flagstaff?
Oh, I would not live there. I have been there. Oh God, no. Nice place, and I'm a really well-seasoned traveler. Nice place to visit. No friggin' way would I live there.
Okay. All right. So we agree upon higher ground, and you're in that place. I'm
in Prescott. Arizona.
Okay, Prescott. All right. One of the things that I got also was that there was a roommate situation that would be amenable to you, believe it or not. And I don't think you're a person that would threaten your roommate, but I get that there's a roommate situation that would be very amenable and an easy, fast, transitional transition with the move. So that would be kind of a plug-and-play thing. And I get anywhere between a 9 to 12-month stay with. Can you turn your volume down just a little bit more?
Okay.
A 9 to 12-month stay in a share, and then after that 9 to 12-month stay, your own place. So don't be afraid to move into a roommate situation. I actually would be quite supportive, and it would be you would make contacts and connections through the roommate. And I get it's a man, believe it or not.
Well, I wonder if it's the person I'm staying with right now. It's not really a roommate situation. And I have to do the roommate situation just for financial reasons anyway. Sure. But right now I'm staying with a fellow it's just for a few days as I do my job search here in town,
Right.
whether or not he would be agreeable to making it something more,
Permanent.
longer term,
Yeah.
where I can move to town is not something we've discussed yet. So I don't
Right.
know, but
What is
the move. His name?
His first name, yeah.
Oh, he's a really good guy too. Fred.
Fred. Okay, Fred.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got my tarot cards out, and I don't bring them out on the show, but they're right next to me today. So I'm going to bring my tarot cards out, and I'm going to pull a card for you and you're in Prescott, right?
That's right.
Okay, so you tell me when you want me to stop. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm putting them down now.
Okay.
You tell me when you want me to stop.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
That's good there. Yeah.
And I'm going to pull another card here for employment in Prescott. You tell me when you want me to stop.
Okay.
Is that a stop?
Oh, no, it's not. Keep going.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, and let me just pull a card here for Fred in the residence there.
Okay.
And tell me when you want me to stop.
Is
that it? Right there?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Okay, so one of the things, the card I got for Prescott was the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups, for me, is a card that signifies that you've got to do some emotional custodial work, okay? The one thing you can't do is get down in your cups. That's really what the Eight of Cups is about. Mm. So if your search doesn't yield results immediately, don't fall into depression. That is the Eight of Cups. If you can stay clear, you've got the Princess of Wands, which is taking the tiger by the tail, which is being spiritually motivated and not taking no for an answer, remaining positive, looking at this as an adventure and a quest and not as a burden, So you're actually using the energy of fire and passion and will in order to overcome any potential patterning or cords or anything that connects you to a past that you do not want to replicate in your life. Okay. So when you feel like the world is against you or things are getting you down or anything that is going to bring you back into a pattern that is no longer worthwhile, find something to be passionate and inspired by and recreate or reframe that emotional patterning and that emotional cord. And if you do that, I think you'll be successful in your quest. Prescott itself is the Prince of Cups. So the Prince of Cups is about emotional renewal and enthusiasm. And it also represents kind of an aspect or quality of youth that you'll be surrounded by. It's not necessarily mature, but it allows you and engages you to re-enter the world with kind of a sense of emotional abandonment. It also represents younger people and being surrounded by younger people. Have you ever done any restaurant work or things like wine bars or breweries, anything along those lines?
I've never done brewery because they always, same with wine places, they always say must be knowledgeable, must have experience. They always say that in all the ads. I have done a lot of crappy food service jobs, however, stuff that, front end, back end, really a lot of slave labor. That's sort of my cleaning jobs and food service jobs have been my go-to jobs when I've had to fight to survive. I've always had unhappy experiences with them, really, and because I'm a writer, I have paid my dues. I've paid enough dues for 50, 60 lifetimes. In this lifetime alone, but so I have done that kind of work, but it's never, I always feel very, I don't want to say trapped, very underutilized, because number one, it's not what I should be doing, and number two, it's like I feel, it's being the slave, it's very confining, that's the word I'm looking for. It doesn't use who I am at all. It uses the slave part of me. It doesn't use my true heart or passion or mind. It doesn't engage me at those levels.
I think that one of the things there's a post, a Facebook post that is making the rounds now on the internet. It's become viral, and it is a post of a Spanish guy who has He has 2 master's degrees, actually, and he is living in England, and he is working as a barista.
Right.
And he hates it.
Yep.
But this is a wave of immigration because there's an extremely high rate of unemployment.
Right.
In Spain, and I don't think that is. I think that that's a global wave. Okay, I think it's a global wave, and I don't think that we are immune to that. And there are people that are really overskilled and overqualified that are having to recraft their lives, and it's not. And it's not a. This is not a soporific, so that you can say my life is just like everybody else's life, right? And this is just the way it is. But these are kind of the facts, and that's kind of where we're at. And I understand it, and I'm sure you are completely overqualified for just about everything you do, but yet somehow, in this economy, we need to make a bridge between our lives and as they exist in terms of our own personal skills, gifts, and abilities, and that which is out there in terms of what's available for us and to be able to survive. And I hope that you can make that bridge so that you can find a way to bring your gifts and your writing skills, and your astrology, and all these wonderful things that you have, and not fall into despair, because when you fall into despair, those gifts are not available for you or for anybody else. It's very difficult. So I guess what I'm saying... Yeah.
I do have a writing job, but I'm going to have to give it up when I make the move. I have to give it up. It's a great job. It just doesn't pay anything. So
yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I've done the survivor job all for decades. It's just when I say been there, done that with a capital BTBT or BT, been there, done that, BTDT, all caps, underlined. So I'm almost 50. I'm getting in retirement years here. Anyway, I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to go down that path. I'm not going to talk about it. It just It depresses me so profoundly. I don't even want to talk about it. And I'm not going to take on that heavy cloak again of having wasted already decades of my life doing crap that I've had no business doing. I fought hard to get back on my path. I have survived, as we have talked about before.
Absolutely.
Incredible darkness. Anybody who says, "Oh, well, go back to that darkness because because it's a survivor job," is not somebody I'm going to pay any attention to. Be it anyway, I don't care who it is. That is done in my life. It's done. It's finished. It has to be. There's no evolvement. That is nothing but continuation of darkness and pain, and I have already been there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My goal is to move forward into my life, not keep doing the misery that I have already been through. What's the point? What is the point? There's none.
I hear you. I hear you.
No, I'm not going to do food service job. No. Or things like that.
Okay.
Suicide.
So
it's suicide. That's murder. It's murder. It's suicide. It's what it is. Suicide by darkness.
So I'm on Craigslist for Prescott, Arizona.
Yeah.
And I found an interesting job. It is an assistant purchasing agent for a growing scrap company. Okay. So this is upstate shredding. It's the East Coast's largest privately held scrap metal processor. Is looking for a full-time assistant purchasing agent. And
I can't do that job.
Okay.
I've never been a purchasing agent. I don't even know the first thing about that.
Here's a technical writer.
I'm not a technical writer. Sorry, I wish I were. I'm not a technical writer. I'm a writer, but technical writing.
You want to write wedding articles?
What's that?
Wedding articles.
I've seen that ad. I've seen that ad repeatedly. I've seen that. I've read that ad repeatedly. No, I'm very, very resourceful, and I'm very, very good at internet research. In fact, it's something that I do extraordinarily well. I'm a natural researcher anyway, and very diligent and very meticulous. So, I look at all those ads. Yeah, I know their wedding one. I know the first. Not only do I not know the first thing about weddings, and I really don't. I could care less.
How about the Book of Mormon? Could you get into the Book of Mormon?
I saw that. I already read that ad. I'm an atheist. I used to live in Utah, by the way, so I have been in the Mormon culture. I don't know the first thing about the Book of Mormon, other than it's what they have as their foundation. No, I'm not the person for that job.
Real quick, we've only got 3 minutes left, but I got the Nine of Wands for Fred, and that's actually a pretty good card. And it's potentially a relationship that can bring you strength as you go through the struggle in your own life, right? That's the Nine of Wands. It's overcoming struggle. So,
did you say Knight? The Knight, K-N-I-G-H? Oh, number 9? Okay.
Yes.
Number 9. Okay.
Nine of Wands.
Right.
So listen, I wish you all the best, because your struggle and challenge is our struggle and challenge in many ways. And your win is our win. And, just sending you nothing but positive feelings and holding a space for you so that you can find something meaningful, so you can get a foothold in a new life, and that's forward and has some momentum. It allows you to tap into your gifts. And we're going to hold the space for that. So hang in there. And again, if it feels like you're getting depressed and going into that 8 of Cups mode, stay inspired, stay positive, stay passionate. Find something that is going to keep the fire of life alive in you. And if you do that, you'll vanquish that pattern, and new possibilities will open up. That's my final take here.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. I appreciate you pulling those cards, and I will bear them in mind and heart as I proceed in the next couple of days trying to secure work.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you again sometime in the show.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
And that is it. We have reached the end, the conclusion, the finale of today's edition of Navigating the Astrological Matrix. There's my sound effect for the day. This is Robert Phoenix. I'll be back on Friday with Perry Logan and hopefully Sarah Nash. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. Until then, be well. Ciao.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.